Dear Christopher Gansing, dear members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this year's Transmediale at the Haus der Kultur und der Welt, the HKW. The HKW and the Transmediale share since quite some time major concerns. While mindful of the creative autonomy, I wish to extend my heartfelt thanks to the whole Transmediale team, and especially to their artistic director, Christopher Gansing, for this common spirit. I wish to thank the Kulturstiftung as well, and in particular its artistic director, for making this ever more important festival possible in the first place through their continual support. My thanks also go out to the Kulturprojekt in Berlin, who have provided administrative assistance to the festival since its inception. I will discuss the common concerns I mentioned this evening from the perspective of the HKW, the HKW. You encounter a house which is in an in-between situation, in a situation of transition. We have just finished the Anthropocene project, and we are in preparation to a project which is called 100 Years of Now. The Anthropocene project dealt with our relationship to the material world, that means with matter. The 100 Years of Now project deals with time. Both projects are closely connected with each other. Therefore, my short welcome speech could have the title Matter and Time. In order to understand the situation we are in, I would like to draw your attention to the beginning of the 19th century, more concretely to a literary text and a famous painting. In 1809, Goethe published his novel Die Wahlverwandtschaften, in which he reflects the transformation processes that society is undergoing. Edward, one of the protagonists, is lamenting the speed in which knowledge is changing. According to him, his forefathers acquired their knowledge once in school and spent their whole life with it, whereas his generation is forced to relearn everything all the years. Edward is grappling with a world which is characterized by an incredible explosion of knowledge. It is a time in which the sciences establish disciplines which develop more and more specialized knowledge. Edward articulates his fears and insecurity facing these fast changes which will define the next 2 centuries. In spite of being visionary, Edward's statement does not capture the whole significance of the revolution which is really going to take place. This revolution will be staged some years later by Goya in one of the famous paintings out of Quinta del Sordo. The image shows Saturn, the god of time. His eyes opened wide are staring at the viewer. With his hands, he grasped one of his children in order to eat it piece by piece. Time devours his children in order to survive. In doing so, it destroys its future and thereby itself. My thesis is now, in order to understand the deep structure of our time and the role of digital media, one has to understand the leap between the Goethe text and the Goya painting. To extend this thesis, while Edward voices his irritation with the closing of the Holocene epoch, Saturn is staring into the age of the Anthropocene. In Edward's world, the knowledge of the world is growing with incredible speed. Almost daily, new perspectives on new accesses to the world are invented. But, and this is an important but, the world which these knowledge systems are referring to is more or less stable. Only knowledge is unfolding in time. Its development is characterized by progress. That means all strategies aim at comprehending the one world more accurately. However, in Goethe's era, a second process had already begun that would fundamentally change our understanding of the world. It is a process which led to the Anthropocene world we are living in now. The decisive point of this world is the destabilization of a more or less stable world of objects and humans becoming the major natural force to transform this material world. Since the 90s of the last century, there is no other agent which moves material objects year by year to the extent humans do. How are humans able to acquire such a power? There are three structural conditions. Number one, by digging into geological time, that means in deep time. In order to comprehend the quantity of energy used by humans to transform the world, it is helpful to understand the logic of the economical heart of the 20th century, the refinery. On the one side, the refinery is connected to geological deep time of the earth in receiving raw fossil fuel, which was developed in biochemical processes over 100,000 of years. This raw material gets transformed by technology into the petrol we use in order to fuel the mobility of our cars, planes, etc. Deep time gets constantly translated into human time. Second, capitalism. Capitalism provides the means to translate via credits the future into the present, to dig into future times to accelerate processes in the present time. At the same time, it uses technologically measured time in working processes. As more you produce in a certain time span, as more profit you make. Time becomes money. Third, technology. Technological developments are based on scientific research. That means they transfer the highly constructed laboratory situation into reality. The refinery is an example of it. Having a closer look on the technologies we created in the last 200 years, it becomes clearer how this changed our concept of time and led to the destabilization I was mentioning earlier. Time, up to the mid of the 19th century, was basically defined by our relations to nature. That means processes such as seasons, day and night, as well as other human beings. When we started to develop more and more sophisticated technologies, we started to create a world in its own, the technosphere. This technosphere became a second nature and transforms our experience of time deeply. What we experience now as acceleration refers basically to our relationships to technological objects. And these technologies are getting more and more out of our control, developing their own logics based on algorithms we cannot control anymore. With our time horizon originally defined by human generations, it is now defined by generations of technologies. And because of capitalistic production, the lifetime of a technological generation gets shorter and shorter. We are left with a flat presence and a high speed. That means we cut ourselves of two major time resources. The past, which is important in order to develop the socially shared meaning. The future, which provides a resource for utopian thinking. We are left with Goya's prophecy of time which devours its children. But what governs all these processes today? Ultimately, and here we are arriving at this year's Transmediale, it is a binary code, 1-0, of the digital world. And this code finds its visual equivalent in pixel rasterization, out of which our contemporary image worlds are constructed. It is these model images image